Hi, you are watching SightsIn Plus and this is Romesh Srivastava. Please to subscribe the channel for the HR news, for HR updates and conversation with the top-notch CHROs, thought leaders and business heads. Today we are going to discuss how AI is transforming the L&D. Especially we are going to talk about personalized learning. Joining us two very senior HR leaders, Mr. Viekas Kkhokha is the Chief Human Resource Officer at Sharda Motor Industries, and Mr. Rajesh Tripathi is the Chief Executive Officer of Prajjo HR, that is Kenbox Technologies. So if you look at the AI in HR, so I think L&D is the function where we see that most uses of artificial intelligence. And if you look at the integration of AI, so how do you see the integration of AI is evolving over the period of time?
To begin with, yes, AI is really taking a big leap in terms of HR practices, and one of them being uh, training and development. To my understanding, AI is really helping HR people and the organizations equally, primarily for training need identification and their uses. My, again, experience is then that most of the organizations fail to really capture right information with right intent in terms of TNIs. For example, if I say in my previous organizations, most of the time the laundry list is being given to functional managers and they pick up trainings for their employees, which may or may not be relevant to the employees. This choosing or selecting the training programs out of the laundry list is primarily dependent on the words which are being used in the names of the training programs. For example, if I say communication skill, now communication skill may have different aspects to be covered under the training program, and that may not be suiting to an employee. So until and unless functional managers and of course HR managers do pick the right challenges which need to be covered under any training program, then only it is beneficial to both organizations and employees. Practically, in absence of AI or any technology, it was not possible for any HR manager. That's my perspective of what I have done in my career. With AI, now functional managers can really pick up the right challenges which their employees are facing and which need to be corrected by relevant training programs. Let me give you one example with which what we are doing at Kenbox. Now, the TNI, we are not asking our functional managers to just simply pick the names of the trainings and that need to be given to employees. Instead, we are asking, or the system is asking, that you pick the right regions, what challenges you face, or the attributes or skills or the competency need to be developed in the employee in a very rugged form. At the background, the AI is now collecting the data, assimilating the data, and depending on the nature of these words which are being used by functional managers, it is clubbing into one basket. Now, this basket can be taken care of by functional managers and, of course, later by HR managers to give it a name. So, what we call is that a TNI, and then after TNI, there is it called naming and framing exercise, which can be done by any HR manager. So, I see in my personal perspective and my experience that yes, AI is really helping a lot in terms of making training and development more effective for organizations and, of course, employees.
Absolutely. So, first finding the skills gap by the employee itself and then suggesting what the upskilling, skilling modules may be, what the learning material that may be there. Because what is your take on this?
I see a very critical need as far as AI is concerned with respect to learning because traditionally, I'm coming from a traditional environment where learning was doped on people. I don't want to name the organizations, but there was a target given to HR people that you have to train so many people. You start calling people in the morning, whether they have reached the training venue or not. You still find 95% or 90% people who arrive and 10% people who miss out and eventually keep sending mails to their managers calling people for the last moment. This clearly shows that it was a one-way traffic of doping learning on people, whether they need it or not. I critically link AI to the learning need identification. I think that is one which will help us to know what is required. Primarily in the environment which is dynamically moving. If we look at all technologies today, even if it's a technical learning, behavioral learning, the world is moving so fast that what was relevant last year may not be relevant this year. And I think AI is one which can lead us to understand what is the need for today. I'm second point going into the pace of learning. Now, pace of learning is not consistent across people. Primarily, we all are different. I sit with 5 leaders, and all 5 leaders have a different pace to absorb things. I think AI is one platform which can customize the pace for all of us. Create that learning uh, platform which can size it basis the absorption capability of a person. Now, this could be done in so many other different ways of AI when the assessments can happen in between. The assessments can help us to gauge that what is the learning. If the learning needs to be reinforced, then it needs to be reinforced. If people who are fast trackers can move ahead fast, I think all this can happen, gradually with the help of automation very fast. In my last organization, we had a hybrid platform. We were trying to work on this, that we gauge who's crossed and who's not. Hybrid meant that we had human intervention. When it comes to AI, I see automation completely taking it over, so that automatically we can gauge how much is being absorbed on. Another aspect I look at AI is primarily sizing it to the capsule based learning, and I'm really good fan of this, because there is a capability which one needs to draw with learning. That capability has to exemplified on the ground. People need to exhibit that, take the feedback from the ground, and then move to the next level. So I think sizing the learning capsules in a very mechanized way, so that learning can happen along with practical experience, get reinforced properly, can help to create this space less burdened for people, because already people are very burdened by work, and you get further burdened if you have a doping of 2-day learning program. This last but not the least, I think I'm talking more logistic constraints that people have today, because you can't be off your job, you need to be at a certain location. You I think all that can be really, really created by a virtual or a hybrid platform, which AI can really help us to reach every corner very comfortably. Now we have large workforce which is in the plants. I would not expect them to leave the plants completely. The lines could, the continuity of productivity or continuity of work could happen, while the learning can happen simultaneously. All this can be assimilated very well. So these are some of the kind of core components which I see AI comfortably fitting in this and making learning a very effective model.
So I think very brilliantly you have shared a couple of pointers, as Rajesh also highlighted, that is the learning need. So how you find out the learning need, that is very important. Second, the pace of learning. Generally, when we talk about the adaptive learning, so this plays very important role. And learning experience, what we are going to talk about, the personalized learning experience basically. So for this, what kind of the data generally you try to find out? What kind of the data you need for the AI-driven personalized learning?
In my view, when it comes to learning, one's interest, and as Vikazi has mentioned, the content adjustment, my way of understanding something, in what way I understand easily. It could be your instructional pedagogy also, which need to be taken care of to make it very relevant, effective training programs. Vikaji has rightly picked up that, yes, from our previous experience, Training was a mechanical process where we had to collect people and only achieve our personal KRAs. And if I say one of my KRAs in early days was 5 man days per employee per person. So our focus was not training content or the quality. It was more how to assemble people, make them sit in the training environment and achieve our personal goals or HR goals. Now that is not anymore appreciated. And with the help of I think these mechanical pieces are being now given away by the systems or by the organizations, right? Uh, Understanding a person's behavior in terms of learning is very critical. In old days, it was not possible to pick up and understand the peculiar behavior of the employees, and then you design your content and pedagogy, and of course, every other thing. Now, with the help of I think we can very clearly, very specifically, we can design content, we can ensure the pace as per the requirement of an individual and the instructions which are required to make it more effective. Now that is possible. In this pursuit of our practices, whatever data is required, the data is humongous. And again, it is not humanly possible to really, collect the data, collect the data, and analyze data. Now the system is giving you the behavioral aspect, and then you can now adjusting or creating content as per the need of the employees, and that is really making employees happy, and organizations' point of view, getting better skilled and competent people for themselves.
Yeah,
Brilliantly, I think you have highlighted how we are going to collect the data. Predictive analytics here plays very important role when we are talking about the historical data, behavior data, and what is the liking, what is the liking of that individual, what is the pace of that individual. So definitely it is helping us. Now we are coming to the content part. Now we are also looking for the small bite-size content, maybe some micro learning kind of this. How do you see, because see how the artificial intelligence is helping into the content when we are talking about the personalized learning?
I think content was always required, from traditional days. The only way to accumulate content was kind of completely manual. Uh, I see that AI can really help in assimilating that very well. And I'm just looking at this touch points where you need to assimilate. And I think first touch point is when you were hired. What were the skills which were said you have versus what the skills that you could acquire versus what the skills which you would need to acquire to be able to do the job. Secondly, when we go through assessments, a lot of data goes in terms of what are your strengths versus what are the development areas. Identifying development areas, you also create individual development plans post that. Then a lot of data could be captured in terms of feedback, which is sought from cross-functional leaders or managers about the behavioral skills or technical skills pertaining to project-based assignments. Also, in the real life scenario, a lot of feedback is caught now. How people are able to conduct in around assessment centers that you do. So I'm just assimilating what are the touch points for us to accumulate data. So Rajesh ji and Romesh ji, we really look at all this humongous data to come to us, and somebody in the HR department or any other department sitting across, fine tuning this data, working on what is the highest required to least required, and then looking at the future of how this data could be assimilated into a skill which is required to be instilled into the people to be able to contribute to that business need, right? Eventually that whole work has to be done. I think I see automation as a very important component in doing so. Now, all these touch points are very important, and we need right source to be able to get uh, what is it that is most important versus what is least important. Take view of various critical leaders and managers, and today's the scenarios in our organizations is also changing, where you don't have typical hard reporting scenarios. You have matrix reporting scenarios. You have project based leaders who are your assessors. So there are multiple people who are also looking at you, any individual. Now it's very important that all this need analysis goes through them. So it's very important that everything goes through that and takes a complete comprehensive view of how the development plan should look. So I think I see automation as a great opportunity. We can touch upon, these leaders to give a feedback, assimilate their feedback and co-create, how a fresh training program could look. A lot of programs that I'm doing today are very, very highly customized to the taste of what is needed today on the ground, and I know that every 6 months I have to do this exercise to customize it with people, right? And I see AI as a very important role, which can really help in creating a leaner department of HR, and I can still do the work, still get the programs organized, and still assimilate this information.
Yeah, because if, one thing I would like to add that we can also have the content in multiple languages with this AI and automation. So this is also a great help. What we can see with the AI in L&D part. Now we are moving towards some skills gap. How we can identify the skills gap for the individual, and we can sometimes also find out what is the hidden talent with the candidate with the individual. So here also AI is helping somehow. How do you see? What is your take on this?
No, you're right, Romeshji. Every skill, or if you go deeper, the trait which is in your genes, the exhibition is very different, right? So you may be you're talking about the same skill or same maybe competency, but the behavioral indicators are very different. Now, to capture these behavioral indicators humanly, it was not possible. One, two, the definition of all these words, if you look at the encyclopedia of all these softer part of HR, it is not possible for any HR professional to really understand, grab them, and then use it in his or her professional life. Now, with the help of the AI, now that is possible. Now, suppose if I say at Prajjo, we are having one skill inventory or competency inventory, right? Now, the competency framework, or for that matter, inventory first. Now, we have 58 competency framework. Now, even you ask me today, do you remember all these 58 names? I will say no. Now, on top of that, if each competency need to be looked at from the point of view, their indicators, it becomes is very complex and again, not usable as rather. Now, with the help of AI, this has become very, very simple. Number two, more important for me is, as of now, when all this is being seen in organizations, it's being taken as if it is the job of HR people. So functional people are only giving you some input, and they may come at the end of the story and they may blame you or HR manager, oh, you did not do this, and because of this reason, this company is really not doing well. But nobody was really coming to HR's help. Now with the AI, I think, and with the tools like what we are trying to give to the market or our customers, it has become very simple. Now indicators are in front of me. I may be absolutely a non-HR person. I have not studied psychology or neuroscience or whatnot. But if I can see that what you call content in front of me, then I can see how these are being affecting my employees, or how I map my employees against these indicators. It becomes easier. Now, second, more important is, again, it goes to functional managers. So HR people who are more into administrative job, day in and day out, 9 to 6, or whatever you call them. Now this has now is going back to the functional managers. And that is giving a lot of room to HR people to do something very strategic in terms of development, in terms of looking into the future and what sort of role or what sort of competencies or skills are required, and they really gear up to do something better for the organizations. That's what my take on this is.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because you would like to add some here something.
I'm just adding to what Rajesh ji said because it starts with competency assessments. Competency we divide into knowledge, skill, ability, and then behavioral checks we can do through questions, quizzes, etc. I think where AI can really help is sizing it to the period and time frame, because we all understand that training you can do in 2 days, and maybe a week, 2 days. The behavior change or the performance evaluation can happen over the months. I think what AI can help us is we can take up certain projects, and then those projects can track the development over months and give a feedback in terms of how the performance is changing post the training intervention. Now, I think manually it is really far fetched and it really get lost. I think after 6 months, people have really forgotten that training program ever happened. So eventually, either you need to send a rejoiner, or you send a re-energizer program, or you need to keep tracking forcibly with the managers. What AI can do is really grab some of these touch points where you can extract information in terms of how performance is going up. What are the indicators which will help us to see that the performance is moving? So I think that is one piece. Second, you touched upon that piece that we can size the program very well. You talked about small packet based learning tools. Not every learning has to be doped on a day one. So what AI can do is size it so well across the uh, year, so that there's a sizable chunk of information which is going in, and then you see that being implemented and learning happens, and before you get into the second one. I've been through a training program which was primarily a 6 weeks program that was for leaders. I remember it was very well managed by the AI tool. I could sit anywhere and do it, still could manage to gauge how am I moving. It had case studies, it had videos, it had other learning tools, but it only moved with my pace of learning and was spread out across 6 months to 8 months by having every 4 weeks, cohesions. And it also had a platform where everybody could physically come together and touch point and then go out. What it helped was to completely take a pace of, learning implementation, and then going forward. I think very well infused. In fact, on top of it, if you have a smart AI system managing, you can further extend it to see that how impact is coming on the business. Today, if you Romesh, if you ask business leaders, I have a training program for 5 lakhs, he's going to just talk of where is my ROI. And it's a very crude term which comes to my desk as a CHRO, and I keep wondering, what do I do with ROI? A 5 lakh program, what is going to give me? ROI is retention, ROI is performance, or ROI is actually productivity improvement. And productivity improvement is also not happening only because of the training program. So what is the component which is coming in which actually talks of that? So I think in this ambiguous scenario where people are talking of this, some of those elements can be exercised through AI, which can really help us to touch upon that this is the difference which was made. And this is where the things are moving positively. These are the gaps still observed. So I think that assessment can be done very well with AI tools. I've seen AI tools assessing people by asking questions, assimilating this data as input, and then presenting the output in completely different fashion. So it will not be like asking questions, getting the information, and presenting the data. I think that can really excellently be done by AI to be able to give confidence to managers. Look, my ROI is being received, or where the needle is moving.
What Vikaji said is rightly in light of, I say, if you talk to hundreds of HR people and we will speak different language when it comes to ROI. Now, with the help of ROI formula and whatever formula we use for to calculate, I think we can speak one language now with the help of AI. That is one. Second important is somewhere Vikaji was trying to touch upon, depending on the learnability of a person, the content can be created. See, I may not be understanding very complex statements or sentences, which is not my ability. I need simple way of, content to be given to me and which I can understand well. Now, it means I'm 100% dependent on someone who was creating content manually, writing it. So it means whatever way he used to think about the people, he will write and give back to the trainers to use it. Now, with the help of AI, with my personal, that is very personalized, what you call treatment, that is possible now. So depending on how much I understand where I get stuck, the system will automatically change the difficulty quotient of that particular question or statement or content piece. I think that is something AI really helping a lot in terms of making it easy for employees to or the human beings to understand the real content and intent of that program.
Yeah, true, true. You have already, I think, responded on the ROI point. And now, if you look at the challenges part, so what generally you see? What are the challenges when we talking about the integration of AI with L&D?
A lot to me. One way, if I take a little different view, not very professional or maybe from the corporate point of view, if we go back to your school days or college days, our teaching methodologies are very different than the AI does uh, support or it takes care of. When I'm in schools and college, still there is a very conventional way of teaching. When it comes to AI-based teaching, it is very different, right? So now the challenge is to human beings how to now cope up with these two ways of understanding and learning. Now, for 20 years, or 22 years, 23 years, I'm in college or school, and I'm being groomed up in that particular environment. All of a sudden, now you are in organizations working, and now the organizations are using latest technologies to teach you or train you. I'm not able to understand that, right? So that is challenge which I see. Now, suppose I say we have LMS platform here. And the companies are really using LMS for the region of, I don't know, one way is that, okay, fine, we have latest technologies to train our people. So they purchase some content, they upload it and give it to the employees without understanding that this content which is being purchased and now put on the platform, that is not as per the taste of the people, their background, their qualification, their understanding of something. Now, if that is not being taken care of, it means whatever we are investing from the organization's point of view is going waste. To my knowledge, training and development per se as an industry is huge. I think it is giving a lot of money to people who get retired and become trainer, like me, I say, right? Maybe Vikaji after he retires. So what we do, we collect, so the content availability is really very easy now. You go Google up, make it a PPT point of view, and now start delivering. Without understanding that that delivery is not giving anything to the employees because they come from a different background or they are thinking in a different fashion. Now that is the challenge which I see somewhere. The ROI, real ROI, after the big investment in these technologies is still to be effectively you come to the level of expectations of people and the organizations.
Right, right. Because we have only a couple of minutes left now. So, any of your final comments?
Yeah, so I just wanted to highlight a very interesting point which I'm facing. today. We have moved to millennials and now we're moving to Gen Zs. With the changing generation, we are facing a lot of exodus, because we don't know what they want, how they want, how they could be developed. And one of the interviews I talked about that your Gen Z at home teaches you how to deal with a Gen Z at office. So when it comes to learning also, AI has to be completely modeled to that new taste. And I'm talking of few things. Teaching methodology for a Gen Z is very different. Attention span is very different. Now, gone are the days when you had to attend to a workshop for 9 hours and then still be happy with one lunch, two coffee breaks, right? Uh, the kind of language they speak is very different because the language may not be verbal at all. They may still do very well online, in online learning space. The kind of the technology, because the multiple technology platforms are available, you need to select the right platform for them to be able to absorb that, and that platform also has to be latest and integrating to your larger HRMS or your network. Then even after the training is done, how you are able to absorb this with a kind of youth that you are hiring, because when they are exposed to so much of data, your data has to make really good sense for them to get retained into them so that it is reused in future. Because today's problem is the information is not limited. There's an
Correct.
excess of information which is coming. Your data has to take a priority. So I look at this complete transformation of the new generation which is knocking our doors. We've already started hiring them, and we need to retain them. The data said that last year it was about 40%, and today it is coming to about 60% projection that our new generation is going to come from this network. So I think this is what AI can do to help us to migrate from typically a millennial role to a Gen Z role and get it modeled to their taste. That is
Right,
a
right.
very
So that is
important
a
component which
complete
is good.
transformation to the integration of AI. And if we try to summarize, so that is definitely it is helping to get the needs, learning needs, to finding out the learning needs on the personalized basis, and then the content accordingly. So that is the biggest uses of the artificial intelligence in L&D. Thank you so much, Rajesh ji and Vikas ji, for joining us and sharing your wonderful thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ramesh ji. Thank you,
Thanks,
Viekas ji.
Romesh.